The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 7th day of the best month of the year, September 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. You know, I did say September is the best month of the year, which I meant. For parents, you know, they're going back to school. It's got to be a good month for you after a long summer. But someone has a birthday coming up on this show. I want to see, can anyone tell me? There's 3 people, as Instagram stories told us the other day. Everyone got it right. The 3 September birthdays on the show. But does anyone know whose birthday comes first? Anyone know whose birthday comes first? There's 3 birthdays on the show. I don't even know if Maya knows this, but there are 3 birthdays on this show in September. Whose birthday comes first? I wonder if you know. You know what? Let's sweeten the pot. Let's sweeten the deal. We will add your name to the draw for tomorrow if you get it right. Because remember, we're going to be doing a draw based on who answered correctly. All right. So, oh, wow. Well, there goes that. Teo's first. All right, yeah, Teo's first. So Teo is actually, I was about to say he's the oldest of the bunch. His birthday just comes first. I think he's the youngest. But yeah, we're having a party this weekend. You all are invited. I don't know where it is. I don't know what time it is, but and I don't know when it is, but we're having a party. And as soon as I get all those details, I will let you all know. All right. But we have a good one for you today. So greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. We have a good one. PLP candidate for the upcoming by-election for Constituency 8. Mischa Fubler is one to discuss his candidacy and his political plans. So we're welcoming him into the Daily Hour hot seat. The Daily Play is a name that place. So nobody got the music one yesterday. No one's here with me again today. So that means anyone in the audience who guesses the answer first will get a little something from us. How's that? Sounds good, right? Folks, make sure you subscribe to our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Now, all of that said, let's just jump right into today's question. We had Ben Smith, the Senator Ben Smith from the opposition One Bermuda Alliance on Tuesday, who is the opponent for today's guest candidate for Constituency 8 of the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party, Mischa Fubler. And I know by-elections, they generally have a low turnout, right? However, the last election was a rather low turnout. I believe the next general election will be dangerously low, which won't bother the governing party at all. Because at the end of the day, all they care about is maintaining political power. But the question of the morning is really reflected in some of the comments that we get, both in inbox, some we share publicly. But it seems like the people of Bermuda, at least the vocal ones, have lost trust in their government. So the question of the morning today is, how can the government regain your trust? What can the government of Bermuda do to regain your trust? What is it? Well, first off, yes or no question. Do you trust your government? Yes or no? Let's start there. Do you trust your government? Yes or no? Let's start with that yes or no question, because some of you may actually trust them. Some of you just may say, you know what, I trust them. I think things will happen over time. I believe that we're a bit too harsh. You know, that's what you all say to me. I'm harsh on government and tourism and so on. Don't know what that means. I mean, if having expectations is harsh, then I don't know what to tell you, folks. But yes or no, do you trust your government? Do you trust the government? Yes or no, do you trust the government? And then we'll get into the discussion. If the majority of you feel that you don't trust your government, how can we regain, how can they regain that trust that they've lost? How can we change that narrative? How can we fix that? How can we say, you know what? The government lost my trust here, but if they do this, my mind may change. I always tell you, my mind can be changed. Oh, yes or no, folks? Do you trust the government? Yes or no? Do you trust your government? Yes or no? Do you trust your government? Unfortunately for me, or fortunately, I don't think a government has done enough for me to trust it. I think governments tend to do what's in their best interest to get reelected. Personally, um, I know people will say, "Well, every government does something for the people." Yeah, if it's politically expedient, if it's going to get them votes, if it's going to help them achieve their overall goal, which I think most of us would agree doesn't seem to have anything to do with the will of the people. I don't trust government. I don't trust them with our finances. I don't trust the government with our education. I don't trust the government with our tourism. I don't trust the government with our healthcare. I don't trust the government with our environment. You see where I'm going with this? I don't trust the government. But just because I don't trust the government doesn't mean that you can't, or that, you know, your mind can't be changed. Yes or no, audience? Let us know. Do you trust the government? You're quiet this morning. Do you trust your government? I know you're saying, I'm sitting in a government office. I'm gotta work. They pay my bills. I can't answer that, Jamal. Waiting on that inbox. I know. But I can answer for you. You tell me. Do you trust your government? And then, if you don't, what can the government do to regain your trust? What is it that they can do? Or is it too far gone? Is it too far gone? Is it so far out there that they've lost your trust that it'll take nothing? Like you just want to see them gone. Is that where we are with it? It's so bad that you don't trust them, that you're just like, you know what? No, I just want them gone. And then they're replaced with another group of people saying, they're the government of the day. And then you don't trust them. It can be changed, but it's going to take courageous electorate, courageous people, courageous community for people to actually say, look, you want my trust and my vote? This is what you need to do. And I understand everyone's going to have different goals. Maya in the house down the street, maybe her number one priority may be LGBTQ plus. Me down the street, mine may be all things black men. Another person on the street, They have aging family members, and theirs may be healthcare. Well, that's why you put governments in place and not individuals, so that they can deal with these issues. That's why you have a health minister. You have a community affairs or labor or whatever they choose to call them. You have different people. Folks, yes or no, do you trust your government? Yes or no? Karen Simmons says, I trust certain people in the government, not the party politics of the government. I take that because you all know I'm vocal about who I like. But at the end of the day, the people that I like still have a responsibility to hold their colleagues accountable. And I think that's what's lacking. So I get you and I appreciate your comment, Karen Simmons. But the people I trust or trust it, that trust is even kind of fading away because my trust in you is that you're going to hold those who we don't trust accountable. It may happen behind closed doors, but based on the actions of said politicians, it doesn't seem like anything is changing. And so maybe it's time to bring it in front of the people so that the people can see, well, what's actually being said for the people and by the people to hold these people accountable. So I get the comment. I completely understand what you're saying. Now, question of the morning. How can the government regain your trust? How can they regain your trust? So, Karen Simmons, you're saying you trust certain people in the government. What does the government have to do so that you trust the entire government? What has to change so that you can say, you know what, this makes sense? Let's look at it from a tourism perspective. You want to gain my trust from a tourism perspective? Then you either make the tourism authority completely government free and let it run, or you bring it completely in-house, and just have it like a department again. To me, that would be something that would regain my trust in government. You can't have it both ways, half and half. It's never going to be able to operate successfully like that. Another thing, you heard the reports on this show. The majority of victims in road traffic collisions, Black men, right? Every time there's a murder, 90% of the time, a Black man. And I think the roots of this have never really been addressed. We heard leading up to the 2017 election, oh, we're going to take a holistic approach and we're doing this and doing that. Again, a lot of things go on behind the scenes and below the surface, but have we really seen the results of this? Have we seen anything to say, you know what, it's working? No. We can sit here and say, oh, thankfully, there's been no shootings and so on. That could be a number of factors that have nothing to do with the government. There are still people ruling the streets unsafe. What are your thoughts? How can the government regain your trust? What can they do? What is your issue? What is your thing that says, you know what? I just spent $20,000 to put my child in a private institution, but I pay taxes for public schools. I need a government I can trust so that I can allow my child to go to a public institution and save that money for maybe college or a house or a business for that child once they're finished high school if they choose not to go to college. What do you believe this government can do to regain your trust? Is there anything? Or do you trust them? Do you trust them already? Do you say, you know what? I have no issues with the government. I trust that they are doing the best job they can. I trust that when the next election, that rich dropped that government house, I'm going to the polls and I'm voting to keep this current government in because I trust them. Is that where we're at? Is that how we feel? And if so, let's reverse it. What is it about the government that you do trust? What is it about what they're doing that you can encourage and convince others that you say, you know what? They're doing a good job. We're just not appreciating what it is that they're doing. We're not understanding the work that's being done. People say to me all the time, oh, Jamal, that's not fair. The government did this, they did that. Okay. Where's healthcare reform? What's the latest on the West End situation? Last year, this time, I told you on this show when Premier David Burke was being opposed by the Honorable former Finance Minister Curtis Dickinson, right? I told you, oh, don't be surprised if he announces the Fairmont deal's done. What happened a couple of weeks ago? The announcement was made. Apparently, to this day, we're still awaiting the Fairmont deal to be done. A year later. Is that trustworthy behavior? Hmm. Makes you think. Or at least it should. At least it should. If you want to regain the trust of the people, you probably shouldn't do things like that. It's not helpful. But again, Karen Simmons says, and it makes you think, is there a difference in government and the political party? We have Mischa Fubler joining us this morning. And I saw a subliminal tweet directed at him last week. And basically it was like, oh, another one who believes they can change the party from within. And I don't know if it was the Honorable Dr. Ewart Brown's book, because if you know, Dr. Brown, his family was actually in the UBP, his mom and his aunt. A lot of people don't know that. He said that they thought they can go and change things from within. Well, I say to anybody, if you think you can go into a political party that has become ingrained in what it is, regardless of what that is, and change it, I say good luck to you. Because I guarantee you'll probably need a shrink. I think it was shrink day the other day, or some sort of psychological help to understand why you can't move those needles before you actually are able to move those needles. We love to see new people involved in the political process. But having been in those spaces, you see how easily it is for them to change. For whatever reason, people don't trust politicians anymore, if they ever did. It's hard to trust governments. Dr. Brown said on this show, the thing about politics is you don't need everyone to agree with you or support you. In democracies, all you need is a majority, 51%. The other 49 you have to govern for. But I think that's something that's missing from the political space that we live in. In order for a community, a society, a country to be successful and to prosper, the people have to trust the government. They have to believe in the government. And I'm not quite sure that's what we're experiencing. Charles H. Jefferson II says, some would say the current leadership changed the party from within. Well, Charles, there are many people who say that the current administration has hijacked the party. You know, I remember back in 2010 emailing a current minister who was a minister then. Because as I learned the PLP as a party, I learned it as the party for the people that fought for, its labors in their name, people's rights. So I couldn't understand at the time why they were fighting so hard to go against people's rights in conscription, which we were fighting. And I said to a minister at the time, I'm mistaken. You're a perfect leader and politician for the United Bermuda Party. And that politician responded with 2 words, quote, I'm done. It seems like the party of the people and for the people became different. It changed. Some people blame the current administration. Some people blame Dr. Brown's administration. Some people say this was always the plan for those kind of Negroes. Yeah, they used that term. They said, no, Jamal, it was always planned this way for a group of Black elites or wannabe elites to use the Black struggle to further advance their personal and individual and professional aspirations. And when that happens, who truly benefits? It's like clockwork. George Butterfield says, kind reminder, in the last 2 elections, the core supporters of the OBA did not vote. So the question should be, how can the government and opposition regain your trust? But the opposition makes up the government. So that's not what the question should be. And as I've said on this show many times, folks, it happened in South Africa. The PLP winning the election in 98 wasn't a victory for Black people. If you remember South Africa, that was set up for whites after apartheid was ended. That's why they're still struggling and infighting with Black people. That was set up. I shared this story on here with you. How the gentleman found that police officer years later. And he said, you were wrong, sir. And the officer said, wrong about what? He said, you said we would never get power. And the officer smiled, offered him a drink and said, but you don't have power. What you have is political power, politics. That's not power. Who owns this? Who owns that? You still need to come to us. The OBA voters not showing up is a sign that we don't need politics. You see these PLP, like MPs and the politicians celebrating Bermuda Air. CEO will be on the show tomorrow. If the OBA were in power, you'd be marching, talking about a Canadian airline at a Canadian airport, da 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 da. I see through it. Do most of you? OBA supporters and the OBA and UBP, however you want to put it, they own the game. Checkers, chess. Folks, they cannot show up to the next election again, and they will be okay. Think about what I said. Traffic accidents, murders, Black men. When you see Bermuda's economy, who owns the economy? It's not people that look like me, sound like me. Under the PLP time as the majority in government, how many black banks have been open? What legislation has been passed to help push a black bank or reinsurance or insurance or some sort of grocery or big business that people need? See, we got to see through stuff, and we shouldn't need extra eyes to do so. Sean Smith says, to gain my trust, they make promises or statements about things you have no control over the outcome. Yeah, I remember the OBA used to always say, we're going to create 2,000 jobs. A government doesn't create 2,000 jobs unless they're actually doing the hiring. I always thought that was stupid of the OBA. Governments don't create jobs. Governments create legislation and policies that allow for jobs to be created. So I agree with you there. Let's bring in Maya Palacio. We're going to have time. We've got Mischa Fubler, candidate for Constituency 8, coming up. You can keep your comments coming through. But yeah, it's interesting. Trust of the government. And let's be honest, we said to Ben Smith the other day, the OBA is no longer in power as of 2017 because they lost the trust of the people. The PLP in 2017 had an opportunity to regain that trust of the people. The only thing I would say they did is they regained the trust of the people enough to vote for them in 2017. And then in the height of a pandemic, I mean, I tell you all, Larry Marshall Jr. tell you all, Tamara Richardson was on Facebook at the time, she tell you all. There were numerous people. But you all did what you do. And now the results, well, more children heading to private institutions, more families moving overseas, more people seeking opportunities to pursue outside of Bermuda. Sad, knowing the fact we need more people. Let's bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour News Break.
Well, good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, Madame. How are you?
Feeling pretty good this morning.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Does that mean the weather's good today, or it just means like got a good sleep?
Let's see. It's been kind of good. Yeah, decent weather.
We love to hear it. We love to hear it. What you got for us today?
Well, in this morning's news, another recap just from the news that I said from yesterday when it comes to the police about the reported two-car collision in Smiths Parish. So they are asking for anyone who may have noticed this collision to please come forward and share what they know. A little additional information from what I mentioned yesterday is that the driver of one of the cars is said to be a 20-year-old Hamilton Parish woman who was treated and then later discharged from the Hamilton. And it is understood that the driver in one of the other cars was said to be a 45-year-old Smiths Parish man who was not hurt. However, his passengers, apparently two 9-year-old girls, received medical care at the hospital before being discharged. Both damaged cars were ultimately towed away after the scene was processed. Again, any witnesses, please call 211.
Yeah, still sending that healing energy though, Ray Maya.
Definitely. Coming up next, this one comes from Brand News, but the Youth Parliament announced the upcoming 2023 commencement, with registration for the new session now opening. Here's the photo there. You could actually scan that at the bottom there if you wish, or you can go on the website that it mentions there from joltforum.com/youthparliament/membership if you're interested in getting any young person to sign up for it. But a spokesperson said that this unique and empowering program aims to cultivate the next generation of informed and engaged citizens by providing young Bermudians with an immersive learning experience in civics, parliamentary procedures, and local issues. I wish they would actually have that in the school curriculum as well.
I like that. I actually like civics. Probably one of the few classes I enjoyed.
Coming up in my next news break, earlier this year, I did hit the streets of City of Hamilton, and I asked the question on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to spend the rest of your life in Bermuda? So take a listen to this video. It's an audio clip from a couple people that I spoke to in the streets of Hamilton. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most likely, 1 being the least, how likely are you to spend the rest of your life in Bermuda?
I'm gonna give you 5.
A 5?
Yes.
Why is that?
I'm trying to get a roof, and it's hard to get a roof around here because you need, like, $500,000 and a loan and all that other stuff. And if I don't find one, then I may be moving back to the U.S. and because houses out there are less expensive.
I was born and bred here. I'm going to stay here, so I would be here most likely a 10. It's nice to live on a rock stuck out in the Atlantic, and I can travel. So I'm here to the end. This is where I was, born and bred, so I'm going to give to my community to the end.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it about a 5. I think that it's hard for me to perceive the rest of my life because I'm young. I think that I can see myself retiring in Bermuda, but I don't see myself spending my younger years there. I think that Bermuda would be a great place to have a family and raise kids because it's safe. But in terms of broadening my experience professionally, I think the States has more opportunity.
6.5.
And why is it 6.5?
I like to travel, and Bermuda's getting too expensive to stay full time.
And what about you, sir? Would you encourage students to come back to Bermuda after they graduate or stay away?
Come back and put back the blocks that are missing.
Thank you for that. Very interesting. Audience, if you live in Bermuda, on a scale of 1 to 10, same Maya's question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to remain in Bermuda for the rest of your life? Andros, on a scale of 1 to 10.
10 being most likely, 1 being no.
Sorry, yes. 10 being most likely to stay in Bermuda, sorry.
Next up, just a reminder that the Bermuda national men's football team have their first game coming up on September 8th on Ireland against French Guiana with the new coach, Michael Finley, at the helm. Here is the squad that was selected for Bermuda, as Jamal mentioned yesterday. A couple of new faces that we get to see, a couple of new names as well within this squad. So remember, you could also purchase your tickets for the game on gpass.bm. It'll be at 5 p.m. on the Friday at the Dame Flora Duffy Stadium.
Nice, man. Someone said 10. Sparkling Ming, most likely to stay. Okay. We love to hear it. We love to hear it. All right.
And I'm closing out just for the weather today. Early clouds turn mostly into sunny skies. So we're looking at a lot of sunny skies later in the afternoon. And we got a high of 84 degrees Fahrenheit today.
Okay, thank you for that, Maya. Monica Dunton says 3, working on my escape plan now. And there are many. Sorry to hear that. And a young Bermudian too. All right, folks, days of the year. Very similar to yesterday. Yesterday was read a book day. Today, it's buy a book day. Yeah. One would think you need to buy the book first to read it. But anyway, history of read a book day, buy a book day. History of buy a book day, sorry. This buy a book day was created in 2012 to educate people to the importance of books to our culture and civilization as a whole. So how do we celebrate buy a book day? Well, the best way to do so is to do what creators meant for us to do. And that's buy a book. Maya, what's the last book you bought?
Oh, I believe it's probably from Kristen White's shop, but it was a minute ago. I think it was when I was with my mom down there. Ain't
nobody asked where
I can't remember. I just know I bought it from there.
Pay us for that promo, Kristen. So audience, what's the last book you purchased? The last book I purchased actually was on July 8th. It's by a Bermudian who's been on this show twice. She goes by Regina Simone, but that is Simone Romain. She wrote a book, just basically a journal, A Journey to Me. So that was the last book I purchased. So folks, go on Amazon, support her, or I don't know if it's sold at People's Pharmacy, but Journey to Me her name on the book is Regina Simone. So that's Simone Romain, who's been on this show to talk about foster children a couple times. That was the last book I purchased. Yeah.
Okay.
Supporting our people. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're coming right back with Mischa Fubler. Maya, thank you so much for all you do.
You're welcome. Have a good conversation.
Right. Thank you. All right, Maya Palacio, folks, do not go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. Come right back after this message with Mischa Fubler, the candidate for Constituency 8 for the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
Welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Make sure you subscribe to our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to improve the community. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We do have actually a book. Sean Smith says $100 million offer by Alex Hormozi. And then Ebony Susan says, visit a book nook if you don't want to purchase but still want to read. Okay, that's the way to do it. But yeah, actually, we'll bring Mischa in, give him a warm TDH welcome. Wonder what's the last book he purchased. Hopefully it was something about getting people to regain trust in government. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're on the other side today.
All right, yeah, exactly. Hello, Daily Hour viewers.
Yeah, how you doing? I mean, this is your first time on this side, right?
Yeah, I'm okay. To be honest, I'm a little flustered. I just knocked over my glass of water. I've been here rushing to kind of keep it away from the computer before you cut me in. But no, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Maya makes people nervous like that, so I get it. I completely get it. So tell us a bit. Before we jump into the conversation, what's the last book that you purchased?
Last book I purchased, I'm just going to my books app to see, is The Myth of Capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, by Jonathan Tepper. I've started to read it. I haven't really got too far. Usually in the evenings when I do a little reading, it's more for leisure.
Okay, got you. I think I like that. I'm gonna have to ask you after the show, send me the author of that, The Myth of Capitalism. But Mischa, you're actually a new candidate. Before we get into the politics of it, just tell the audience a bit about who is Mischa Fubler, like a little bit about what you do, your background.
Sure. So husband, father, I got 2 kids, boy and a girl, 5 and 2.5. Brother, concerned citizen. I returned home in 2017, kind of middle of the year. And as soon as I returned, I was looking to kind of get involved in the community. The folks at Choose Stick reached out to me, and I joined what they call the Board of Elders. It's kind of like their executive board. And I've been working with them. And then kind of fast forward to 2020, I saw that Kristen White was recruiting people interested in holding the government to account. So I reached out to her to join Social Justice Bermuda. And we've been doing some great work throughout the pandemic. Kind of alongside that, kind of to that aim of, who I am.
If you have any questions or comments for Mischa, please send them through. We'll get through as many questions and comments as possible. Look, the person you're opposing in the upcoming by-election in Constituency 8, he said the other day, this is toxic. It's a very toxic environment. And in my opinion, it only seems rewarding to those who have had unsuccessful careers or have an ego where they crave political power. So why politics for you?
So to be honest, I wouldn't be here if I thought everything was going great. Like I have a great life. My kids are young. I want to spend time with them, but it's quite apparent that many of us are looking for more change. And I think given my professional and education background, I fit a gap in the current kind of skills matrix of the legislature, senior leadership of the government that would add value. And so I'm putting myself forward to serve.
Right. And give us an idea of what is Mischa Fubler's political ideology?
Oh, I think somebody described me as left of left, although that might be exaggerating it a bit on the kind of surveys they have around that kind of quadrant of which places you sit, if you're, authoritative and conservative, or kind of more democratic and liberal. I'm probably down in that bottom left-hand corner there. I did the introductory speech around the values, things like economic justice, high functioning government services like transportation. I think healthcare and education and housing are a right. They shouldn't be a privilege. Not to go on for too long, I think the speech and my bio are on the Royal Gazette article introducing me. And for a little more in depth, you should check out socialjusticebm.com. We still have the platform up there that we put together in 2020. And I didn't write the whole thing. It's definitely a team effort, but I had significant input, and I agree with what we put out there.
So you basically, what I'm getting is you would consider yourself more of a socialist.
Yeah, sure. That to succinct, put it in one word, that's the closest.
Okay. And so if your political ideology leans towards socialism, why is the PLP the best option for Bermuda, in your opinion?
Well, I'm also a pragmatic kind of decision maker. There's always that this is the ideal outcome, and then that this is the reality and the options we have. This here is going to be the most effective choice. And when I weighed my options, I did that interview with Media Maya earlier this week. I weighed my options for where to get involved in the political space, and joining the PLP was the one that would have the most impact as far as affecting legislature and policy. And I had also mentioned in that interview that I believe is coming out soon that the mission and vision of the PLP really resonated with me. If that's okay, I'll just share it briefly here. The mission is that the party will strive for the attainment of social, racial, and economic justice for all, based on the will of the people and democratic principles, in order to promote a sovereign nation that ensures equity and puts Bermudians first. And that sounded great, and I think I want to work towards making that be the reality.
You know what? It does sound great, but I think, Mischa, if you were to ask many in the general public, that's a lot of words, but they just don't see the action. So what is it that you bring to the PLP and Bermuda that will improve the lives of Bermudians?
So to the PLP specifically, in the time that I've been a member and, engaging in the process, there are a lot of progressives that think like myself that are members of the party that want to see kind of their aims and goals pushed more to the forefront. And they seem reassured to see that I'm putting myself forward in that space. And to Bermuda as a whole, I mentioned in my kind of introductory speech again, digital transformation in the government is a significant initiative. It's required. We need to make changes. The government proposes new policy and initiatives, but implementing it is difficult when we're still dealing with the technical debt of these are the systems that are in place, technology systems from the 80s and 90s, and we're struggling to move beyond that because we don't have senior leadership that, has believes wholeheartedly in the value that data-driven decision-making can bring and leveraging technology to facilitate process change. And I have experience in that.
Let's talk about the people, because when it comes to politics, it just seems like the people are used to gain political power, but then often forgotten. So what are you hearing on the doorstep? What are the main concerns of constituents right now?
It's a mixed bag, right? I guess it kind of highlights how people are individuals. Some of the first doors that I knocked on in Smith South were concerned about education. Their children are adults now, but they identify education affects the future and such. They are very interested in seeing it improve. And to that end, I agree. I've been a teacher for 7+ years, mostly teaching computer science across the spectrum from first grade through kind of M3, and then also at the high school level. And other concerns, more day to day, like the roads. Although surprisingly, that wasn't the first item that was mentioned when I spoke to folks. If I had to sum it up, there were. It kind of depended on the person, like some were the economy, some were immigration, and
Okay. And just your personal perspective, let's just touch on the economy. And folks, if you have any questions or comments for Mischa, this is your opportunity to engage live. What are your thoughts on the current state of the economy? And if you were to be elected to the House, what would you do to improve it?
Sure. So current state of the economy, we're all seeing the press releases. That's kind of the level of access that I have currently. And there's marginal improvement. It's not trending down quite as drastically in some areas, and in many others, there is starting to be an uptick. But from talking to people and from my own observations, it's still tough for us to feel it, right? Like there's the economy as it occurs in these types of businesses are doing well. There's growth, there's new jobs in IB, but is the average person feeling it? I don't know. We're still struggling to kind of see tangible improvement that you feel in your day to day if you're getting out there every day and working back, breaking your back all day. That being said, if I were to join the legislature, I think I would bring the ethos we had in social justice Bermuda to Parliament, making sure to hold people to account, and not just that, but also suggest alternatives that add value. As an example, ways to better communicate what's happening already, with education being an example. I think everybody's in agreement that the system does need to change, and change is hard. Many people will have resistance regardless of what change is proposed, but by building buy-in with the stakeholders, we can make the process better. And like, to sum it up, that's what I would do in the House. Give my efforts to making things better.
Gotcha. Let's speak about the political side. So if you're unsuccessful in this upcoming by-election, what's next for you? Are you going to keep pounding the door? Are you going to reevaluate how you can make a difference? What's the next steps if you're unsuccessful?
So outside of this political campaign, I'm still fairly active in the community. In C28, Warwick West, where I live, I'm the branch chair of my constituency, and we're working to engage in the community. We have a project on the go right now. We're planning to do some community outreach, put on some workshops around job skills. So interviewing and resume review, kind of open forum for people sharing their successes and tips and tricks for them landing a role. And outside of that, there's still social justice Bermuda. We've shifted more to advocacy from the kind of public activism. Calling out things publicly makes us all feel good, but I think we have enough people in the community who are very good at identifying what's not right. I think we need more people who are willing to put in the work to affect change, to provide additional solutions like we did in our platform. Said, there's this issue with the economy, we should try this to resolve it.
Folks, if you have any questions or comments, as I stated, you can send them through. We do have Shamari Talbot on Facebook. He's asking, can a person be a socialist and also govern for, quote, all Bermudians? I asked that because the interests of the two Bermudas don't align. So how does a socialist at heart please all? Who is your priority?
The people. The government services should be run in such a way that they benefit all of us. I believe in equity, not equality. I don't think all of us need the same services from the government because our lived experiences and economic status, change what's needed. But when you look into what socialism is, it's more closely controlled public services, education, healthcare, banking, transportation, those sorts of things. I don't know if they're kind of, not aligned. The two Bermudas is an important point. I take your point. Some people might be upset with changes to things that we've proposed, like a progressive taxation system. There are some who benefit greatly from the payroll tax cap being at the 250,000 or whatever it is. But we've been trying the same sorts of things for a long time now, and I think if the public is open to it, we should try some more radical changes.
All righty. Maya Palacio asking, curious, Mischa, are you planning to send your children to public or private school and why? Well, I think that's optics, regardless of the answer, but go ahead, Mischa.
Right. So Soleil starts at Purvis on Monday. She's been at Ward preschool prior to. Both my wife and I are advocates of the public education system. We've both attended, we've both been involved in the work that Social Justice Bermuda's been doing to kind of engage in this education system change. My wife was a teacher at Whitney for the first 5 years that we've been back. I think you got to pick the school that works best for your student, that meets their needs, that's differentiating the education, and that depends on you, the individual. But when you look at parents who have children with special education needs, up until very recently, that's been the public education system's the only option. Many of the private schools don't have a special education program. Some do now. The trend is changing, but yeah.
I just think, no disrespect to Maya, I just think it's optics when it comes to politics. It would take a very daring politician at this point to have their child in a private institution. So I just a question.
I don't disagree, right? Like that's showing you don't have faith in the system.
Exactly.
That being said, if we find that there are gaps in Soleil's education, we will do what's needed to be done. We'll change if we need to. But all of the parents that I've spoken to, oh, look, here she comes now. You want to say here, we turn off the blur for a second. So they want to say hi to everybody.
Hello.
They can't see you here. Let's turn it on.
How are you?
Hi.
Hello.
She's here. She's home from school today. When we planned for the summer, I wasn't going to be running a campaign. So, she's going to stay at home for this week and that'd be fine. But that's not the case now.
Yep. And since she's going to, Purvis?
Purvis, yeah.
I remember. Purvis, which is a public school up in the Cedar Hill area, for those who may not know. I know we're clouded these days. The audience. Robert Nest is asking a question. Does the PLP understand that you are a socialist?
I mean, I haven't been dishonest about who I am. When the candidate selection committee interviewed me, I shared many of the things I've spoken about today. In fact, when I was preparing my bio and speech, I was a little apprehensive about mentioning my involvement in Social Justice Bermuda, and they actually encouraged me to mention. So that was reassuring. I think it's important to note that, public perception is one thing. You get a much better understanding when you're experiencing it yourself. And that was part of my motivation for joining, to kind of see what it's really like, not just what, the Royal Gazette is reporting about it.
Monica Dunstan, she says, where does Mischa currently teach? I thought he worked at an exempt company.
I don't currently teach. When we went back to school in 2013 to do our master's degrees, I shifted to IT. My master's degree is in information systems. And when I returned home, I went to what's now called Liberty Group Limited, the parent company for BOCO. And I do currently work for a reinsurer. But I taught in New York City at a private high school, actually. And then as well in Bangkok, we were the kind of foreign language teachers in an English immersion program. So there I taught computer science to mostly primary age school students, and then would also fill in for science or math as well where needed.
Karen Simmons, she's asking, Mischa, do you see an avenue to bring the advocacy of grassroots groups into government spaces? Can they be aligned or opposing?
I think it could be both. It depends on the grassroots group. As an example of alignment, a few of the things that we proposed in our platform, we Social Justice Bermuda, have been implemented, like the online, what's it called, the laws around sharing photos of a sexual nature. I'd have to pull up the thing to get the specific name of the legislation there. Yeah, exactly. And then as an example of not being aligned, the folks who were campaigning against the COVID regulations, who did the kind of car parade, who I don't agree with their positions, but I very much want them to continue advocating for the things they believe in. I think both of those things are required. The third sector should be allowed to engage in these kinds of consultative processes that the government has.
Indeed. Mischa, I asked Senator Ben Smith the same question. What makes you the best candidate for constituency 8 and Bermuda?
I think first off, that I don't have a desire for a career in politics. I just am someone that lives and works here and wants to see things better, and I have a skill set that can contribute to seeing that happen.
Shamari Talbot has another question, just asking, why were you apprehensive in mentioning your participation with social justice to the candidate committee? Did you feel that it would have a negative impact on your chances, and why?
Yeah, I mean, we were out there calling for MPs to be removed as ministers. We've been keeping the government on our toes. Social Justice Bermuda was the opposition member in the limelight, according to the Best of Bermuda Awards. And then there are some people who don't agree with some of our positions. As an example, removing the legislation that mandates prayer in schools, as an example.
And I mean, I don't think Bermuda, I think we can sit here and both agree that Bermuda, even though it's evolving, is still genuinely a
socially conservative space, right? Like they're
okay, thank you.
The loudest people. That not to say there's tons of us out there. You out there watching right now, if you feel the way that I do, make yourself heard. It's supposed to be a democracy. They're shifting to the inputs they're receiving from the public. And so we need to change the inputs. If you feel that we need to make change in education or universal healthcare should be here already, then let us know. Those are things that I believe in. That's why I'm putting myself forward to advocate for those changes.
And before you go, the question of the morning today was, what can the government do to regain the trust of the people? Obviously, there are some people who are going to trust the government. There are people who won't. I gave a lot of examples this morning as to why people wouldn't. What do you believe, if successful, you would like to do to regain the trust of the people that the government's lost?
I have a couple ideas for initiatives in that space. I want to preface this by saying these ideas are based on what I've been able to see from the outside. Once you get in and you have the details of this is what the actual budget is, this is the current state of how this department works, that affects what can be implemented. But ideally, I'd like a platform that can very rapidly get consensus or sentiments from the public. Thinking of finally executing the electronic ID initiative that's kind of been going around for several years now, so that could be used for a government platform that says, we're thinking of doing X, Y, Z. Should we go with X or Y? And as well, increasing the frequency and approachability of the communication. Oftentimes the decisions or the stats are just read out. Like I'm thinking of when you listen in the House of Assembly, we should have more infographics, things that show the trends over time, things that respond to people's concerns. Yesterday I saw online, there's this parent who reached out to the Minister of Education to say, hey, I hope there's lots of parents who are not sending their kids to public school this year. And he actually responded with, well, this is the actual number of decline. And if you look at the trend over time, there's actually a slight growth in the primary school age. But over the whole, including the daycare, there's a decline. That you mentioned 25 students fewer, which is maybe a class and a half.
Oh, I saw it. Don't worry. Charles H. Jeffs II, he's asking, what radical policies would you like to see implemented to attract Bermudians to return?
Specifically to return, financial incentive. If you're a Bermudian that has moved abroad for education and experience, if you return, there's this, that, and the other concession that can be applied. I don't want to get into the specifics there for the reasons I just mentioned around, you make a commitment when all you have is what's put out in the budget statement, but you need to be able to see firsthand like what the current state is in the organization before arriving on practical solutions. Other more radical things, I'm a big advocate for co-op organizations, and in the space of reducing the cost of living, the shipping companies. My great uncle Gilbert Darrell, when he was a young man, had the inclination to start a container line, something that, well, I don't know about his, but in my mind, a nonprofit shipping line would greatly reduce one of the major costs in doing business in Bermuda.
I hear the thing about socialism and not-for-profit is the money has to come from somewhere. So I guess, where's the money going to come from? We still need to get the money for government initiatives, for socialist agendas, and so on. That's a question people always had for Bernie Sanders. And I mean, I tell you, in the 2016 election in here, I was big on Bernie, right? But what was the what? How do you answer that question in a Bermuda context? Like, where's the money coming from?
It's coming from us, and ideally, it would come from population growth. That's what we need drastically right now, and I think that can happen. When you look through the budget, we're getting significant revenues, and there are examples of nonprofits in the U.S., one of the big capitalist places that are successful, specifically in healthcare, as an example, like North Shore LIJ, I'm pretty sure is a nonprofit hospital. There is immense wealth in Bermuda, and I think ideally people should be offering assistance where they can, and if we're lacking in that regard, then we need to adjust how we collect taxes.
Indeed. Omar H. James has a question. He's asking, why do you think the PLP needs another MP? And do you think a one-party system is a good thing for the country?
I think that I will be the best person to fill this seat in C8, not considering the party. I do take on people's points there. Do we really want it to be 31-5? But I think if you look back at what I've been doing over the last 6 years that I've been home, I have no problem holding the government to account and encouraging them to do better.
So any final words to people? I mean, let's just look. You're very active on social. You know how, again, it's not always the majority, but it's sometimes the loudest. You know how people are feeling. People feel hopeless. People are tired. What would you say to those people who feel that way about what you hope to do for them?
I would say, don't give up hope. If we concede, if we resign ourselves to, well, things are bad and they're not going to get better, why try? Then the folks who are only interested in attaining power or positions of influence will win the seats. And I don't think that's a recipe for making things better. That's not to say that that's who Ben Smith is. I'm just saying in general, if the folks that are well-intentioned, that want to see all of us do better, are not also engaged, then the jerks win out.
Mischa, do you remember, I just thought of this the other day. We've been connected on LinkedIn for quite some years, and I think our first interaction was regarding conscription.
Yeah.
And you were in support of conscription, and I couldn't believe a young person was in support of such a system. And I actually learned at the time that one of your cousins was one of our biggest supporters, Dr. David Chapman.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to understand your thoughts. And I guess my question to you is, knowing that you're a socialist, do you feel any different today and understand what that fight was about in particular?
Definitely. Your positions changed my mind on the issue. I was an Army cadet for close to a decade as well. So I think that's one of the major inputs to where my position was at the time. I think that public service is important. And I thought, and I still think that the kind of opportunity for mixing of socioeconomic classes that program provided was a benefit. But to your points around the forced labor and not having the choice, like, I can't disagree with that. That's more than enough reason to end it. I would like to see a kind of return to this kind of community engagement. I don't know, maybe at the high school level through providing incentive for volunteering in specific organizations. But yeah, like, hopefully everyone's ideas around what's the best choice changes over time. And this is an example of one where mine has changed.
And I asked you that because I felt your mind changed, but I say that because I say on this show all the time, my mind can be changed. But also to understand that community service is the backbone of any economy.
Yeah.
Any country. It literally is. Where I think we are far apart as a small community is what defines community service. So, Mischa, thank you so much. Again, I know you're doing a lot out there. I'm wishing you the best. And my hope is that I think, I'm going to be honest, you know this, socialism scares a lot of people.
Exactly. That was part of my, so to Shamori, part of my apprehension is, it's social justice Bermuda, is that bunch of kooky leftists. There's no way we need this guy in the House. But I think we need a bit of a change of that. And even within the party, there's people that are saying, it's a relief to see that there's someone with your worldview putting yourself forward.
Yeah.
And I'm not alone in the party. There are many of us that feel that way. I wasn't the only person marching at the Pride Parade, as an example. That's a member of the PLP.
Indeed. Mischa, thank you again. All the best going forward. And
thanks, John.
Even if you're unsuccessful, those who know because you're very active on social media. And for me, honestly, it's not about agreeing on everything. It's about learning from one another. It's about understanding. And through disagreement, I truly believe we can come further, more together.
It's the only way we're going to arrive at the best choice. If everybody's of a specific mindset, then we're missing out on opinions and facts that are coming from the opposing side.
Indeed. We're not all going to get everything we want, but we can shift and make some adjustments. All the best, Mischa. I'm sure we'll be in touch. Talk soon.
Thanks, Shimon. Till next time.
Mischa Fubler, folks, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like if you appreciated today's conversation. Make sure you share it as well. We'd like to ensure that your friends, your colleagues, your family, everyone has an opportunity to hear what was said during this conversation. But we're going to take a final break. Don't go anywhere, because we have a giveaway after this for the Daily Play. We have a giveaway, and we will do that as we wrap it up after this quick break. But again, a love, like, please give us a love or like and share, follow. It helps more people see the program, and you do that with the algorithms on YouTube especially.
Hi, welcome to ER Fisheries. I'm Jalen Steed, store manager and trained chef, and I'm here to help you with all of your food needs. Let's talk about why you should come and check out ER Fisheries. We offer the widest range of specialty meats and seafood items at a price point that will absolutely fit your budget. As a chef, I'm able to answer all of your food questions, help you come up with meal ideas, and generally guide you in the right direction. You'll get a custom shopping experience unlike any other food store in Bermuda, where we'll cater to your needs and provide you with excellent customer service. Where else can you get quality cooking advice and quality products? I look forward to helping you with all your meal ideas.
All righty, welcome back, and thanks again. Honestly, thanks again to Mischa Fubler for joining us today and having that conversation with us and engaging. Again, folks, please give us a like, a love, a follow if you don't already, and make sure you share the conversation in your WhatsApp chats, your colleagues, your friends. Make sure they hear these conversations. All right. It's time for the Daily Play brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Also, thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lenders, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can do this for you on a daily basis. All right, question. It is a name that place today. All right, here's the question. No cheaters. Name that place. What is the capital of Chile? Let's see who got it. Rosalind Famous showed up on the screen first. It is Santiago, or she's saying it in Spanish. Santiago, congratulations, Rosalind Famous. You are today's winner. Emily Gail Dills, she got it as well. Congratulations to you. Stacey Ann Brown as well. All right, we done pretty well in geography and landmarks today. We done pretty well. All right, so Rosalind, please send us an email today. Again, everyone, when you win something, you have 24 hours to send an email at a response, and we will send you a link to collect your gift. All right, let's wrap it up. We talked about trust today, and we had a great conversation with Mischa. I just want to remind people, politics is not economic power or empowerment, but it is a path toward achieving that through legislation and policies. Mischa said something earlier that I often say, and I've been saying this for years. And when I used to say it, people just thought I was the meanest person because of it. I've never been a fan of equality. I remember saying to folks in the LGBTQ plus community, you shouldn't want what others have. What you want is equity. With Serena Williams, people saying, she should be getting paid the same as the men. Hell no, she shouldn't. Nor should the women's national football team in the US. If they're drawing more interest and they're drawing more revenue for their games, then they should be getting more than what the men get if what they say is true. So we have got to stop setting this bar and putting the barometer where it's equal. Equality, we all require different things. So equity is the goal. That's what we should always be fighting for. Equity and justice. Equality, you can have that. I don't want it. I'm sorry. Regaining the people's trust. Government has work to do. And again, it may not be the majority of the people, but it's the loudest people. And sometimes the loudest people really dictate what happens. They've got work to do. And I just hope that they take seriously the job that they have on behalf of the people of Bermuda. To Mischa, I enjoyed the conversation. It's daring in the West and a democracy. It's quite daring to publicly state you're a socialist. I give him 10 points for his courage to do that. Whether or not the PLP is the place for him, whether or not I believe he can bring about the change that's needed for Bermuda in that party as it stands today, remains to be seen. What I will say is, like Senator Ben Smith, Bermudians need people in place who are going to work on their behalf. If you can get in there and do that, then I think you are on the way to governing in a decent, respectful, and honorable manner. All right, it's time for the ER Fisheries and Foods Daily Inspiration. Yeah, here's one for you. There's no better teacher than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed. its own lesson on how to improve your performance the next time. And that one has been shared on this show before, and it is Malcolm X. Folks, please make sure you subscribe to our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to improve the community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. Please like this video. Please share this video. Please follow our pages, and please subscribe to our website. I'm Jamal Hartman. Do make it a safe and a great day. I'm out. Peace.